Right, here we go. Nick Page coming on.
That's good.
Right, here we go. Nick Page, come on. Right.
So we're still needing Richard from NPS.
Yeah.
Blimey.
Yeah. I'll just explain to everyone who's just joined us on YouTube to watch the Parish Council meeting. We're having some technical issues of people logging in at the moment. So we're working on that. So the meeting's going to start a few minutes late, but as soon as we can get going, we will do. All right. So have you heard, Tim, from the other person trying to get on?
He hasn't responded to my email, which
Okay.
try not to get too worried about that. Nick, did you get on okay, or do you have an error code, Nick Page?
I had an error code, but the link worked.
Okay.
It's really strange.
Yeah, that's my problem. I tried to use the passwords and that, but it wouldn't let me in. But then I used the link, which I should have done straight away, and I was straight in.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Can you see anybody else in the waiting room?
No, no, I've got the whole thing here, and there's no one else in the waiting room at the moment. Francis, have you heard from anyone having problems getting on?
Just Mark Cordy has phoned Peter. We're trying to get him on.
Yeah, okay, if you go back under mute.
So what I've done is I've forwarded the...
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what's going on tonight with Zoom.
Well, I couldn't get onto the South Norfolk website at
No,
all.
that's totally crashed.
Yeah, that's the server apparently,
Yeah.
but well, that's yeah.
We've got
Barney should be joining now.
Barney's joining us now.
So that leaves Richard from NPS.
Yeah.
And I think Elliot was joining, wasn't he? Elliot Tarling. He was a technical advisor to the DFE. Let me see if I can.
We've got 3 councillors can't make it, with 1 trying to get on at the moment.
I'm just going to try and call Richard.
Okay.
Go on mute.
Hi, Elliot. People are having some issues getting on, but we'll get there.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, no worries.
To our YouTube audience, our apologies. This sits outside our control as a parish council to deal with Zoom and technology, but we will get going with the meeting as soon as possible. Please be patient.
Right.
Again, to our YouTube audience, apologies. We're just waiting for a few more people to come online. They're trying to get logged on to Zoom at the moment. Is Mark sorted, Francis?
No, he's trying. He's going to try. He's done what Mike did, and he's put the whole string in, but he's got it on the wrong device. He tried typing it in. He's now going to email himself and then
Okay.
just. But he'll join us as soon as he can.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We'll call it anyway. We've just got Tim's trying to get one person on.
Yeah, he's having a few glitches trying to get in and bypass the error code, unfortunately. So perhaps we'll just give him a minute and then
That's
so-
no problems.
and then we'll make a start in the hope that he may be able to join us.
Has he got any of the presentation stuff or?
Well, he would be talking to the road.
Oh, yes.
So I sense that might be fairly important for you. But
Oh, yes.
I haven't heard from Jan, Peter.
Okay.
She may be having problems, but I'm not had
Cordy.
a call from her.
Who's
just-
coming in?
I just messaged Jan. She actually forgot, but I think she's probably going to try and join us.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Okay, so we've got Mark. Brilliant, Mark. You got in. You're on mute, so it's okay.
Yeah, we'll win.
Ah, yeah. Must be using, was it a laptop? It's gone again. I know.
Still there.
Keep removing positions. Okay.
no signs of anybody in the waiting room.
No. No. Wait. There's a couple of bits of administrative stuff I need to do before. Here we go. Jan has got in before we officially start the meeting. Sorry, before we go on to what yourself. Shall I do that, or do you want me to give it a couple more minutes, Tim? Because I've got to be mindful that our meetings can maximum last 2 hours, and we've got some other things to deal with.
There's only one other route I can probably try, which is to go try to go into it outside of my sort of company web portal, which will take a couple of minutes. So
Okay.
I'll have a go at that, but pass on if I'm not there, then just pass on my apologies.
Okay.
I will try to hack in some one way.
Just so you know, Tim unmuted you.
Yeah, sorry, I can see that. Yeah, quite right. He's still struggling. Apparently, the passcode isn't accepting. He thinks it perhaps ought to be 6 digits rather than the 5, but he just can't access using those sequence of digits.
I'm not sure what's going on. Has he tried the actual direct link?
He has, yeah.
Right.
I'm sensing we probably ought to make a start.
Yeah,
And,
we do.
You never know. He might miraculously appear when we get to the point of needing to talk about the road. Otherwise, we'll,
Yeah, if not, you'll be thrown at the deep end. Okay.
I'll pass on his mobile number.
Yeah. He could phone in and via yours. We could hear him on yours.
Yeah. Okay.
So, good evening, everyone. Sorry for the late start. We're holding this on Zoom. As you're aware, we will be holding this on Zoom till probably May of 2021, when the legislation for the coronavirus Section 78 changes again. We've got some apologies for absence. Francis, would you like to give the apologies for absence, please?
Yeah, that's Gillian, Stuart and Martin, and Margaret Dewsbury will join us. She's in another meeting, and if she can join us after that meeting, she will.
Yeah. She's with Wicklewood Parish Council at the moment, and then she'll join us as soon as she can. Okay, any declarations of interest for items on this agenda not recorded elsewhere?
I'm going to declare one, item 9.2. I've worked for the homeowner before.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
But if I can request dispensation to take part in the conversation but not vote.
Yep, that's fine. And I would also have to give a declaration of interest that I've known the homeowner since they were a child, and they're a close friend of my daughter. I would also like a dispensation, if that's okay, because I don't have that friendship, but I have known her through my daughter.
I also then have to say that with planning application 1991, I am acquainted with the family, but I don't believe that it would have any effect on my planning it.
That's the thing about living in a village.
Yes.
Some of the applications.
Yes.
Okay, so no other dispensations needed. Okay, we need to receive and approve the minutes of the meeting of the 2nd of November. Hopefully you all had a chance to have a read through. Didn't see any problems. Did anyone notice anything?
Nothing that jumped out.
No. No.
They
So,
look good to me.
yeah, could I have a proposer, please?
I'll propose.
Seconder?
I'll second then.
Okay, all in favour, show of hands. Yep, unanimous. Okay. We've now got matters arising. Any matters arising need to be raised? No?
I think they're covered on the agenda.
Yeah, yeah, not on the agenda, elsewhere, for information only. Sorry, Francis, I should have read the whole lot. Okay, so we haven't got anything there. We've got no members of the public actually wanting to actually be present to ask questions, but we have had today one correspondence in about asking questions. So I think if we do that at this stage, let's bring this up. This was a parishioner has raised some concerns and would like them raised with us. Been looking at the plans for the one parishioner mentioned plans for the A47, and they were asking about the footbridge, whether the current footbridge would be closed for safety reasons. Yes, it will. So that will be closed, and we'll write to him accordingly. Later on, I'll give you a quick update about conversations I've had with Highways England. And that'll be later on. We've also had a separate item. I'm just going to bring that up. Just got to find it. Have you got it directly?
Yeah, I've got that, Peter. That was.
Do you want to go through those points?
I can. I mean, what I was at, because they only came in quite late this afternoon. What I told Peter is that I'd go through and get the detail and then bring it to the next meeting. But I'm happy just to
No,
run
I
through.
think
But I
you
don't.
should read them
I don't
out.
have any. I can read them out. I don't have any background. So he's asked, are the SAMs going to be used on the Durham Road to deter speeding? That was his first question. But I've got nothing else with that. It's just a question. So I think I'll have to find out what he means, because we have.
We've got two SAMs, SAM 2.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're deployed at the moment. You can only deploy SAM 2s for a maximum of 6 weeks on any one location.
SAMs
Yeah.
2s aren't up at the moment.
Okay.
Sorry, Mark, I missed that.
So the SAMs 2s are not up at the moment.
Okay. Second one was Durham Road pull-in opposite Easton College and Golf Club being used as a public toilet.
Unfortunately, that where the lorries are parking up on the entrance to the Borough Pit, they think they can do that sort of thing. What we'll have to do, here's Richard coming in. What we'll have to do is inform South Norfolk District Council for their hygiene team to have a look at that.
Okay. The third question was Marlingford Road verge by Marlingford Close being destroyed by parking. Well, we know that.
This has been addressed. You know, we have mentioned this at numerous meetings. And
What is that? Can you just go through that? I didn't quite catch all the words there, Francis.
It says Marlingford Road verge by Marlingford Close being destroyed by parking.
Marlingford Close?
Marlingford Way, he means.
He means Marlingford Way, yeah.
More likely the building work going on, with the trucks backing up and tipping. But I haven't seen it, so I can't say for definite.
No, and also the fire that he had, and also we've also got someone else, which we'll deal with later, who's fly tipping leaves on that area. They're moving leaves from near their home to fly tip them, which is illegal, on another area.
We'll deal with that one later then.
Yes, that will be
this
dealt
one
with
is
later.
This one just says fly tipping it on the increase in and around the village. Landowners seem reluctant to move it when reported to them. Then it says council very good at removing them. Village needs to be made aware and on the lookout for this unsocial behaviour.
That one is, I think he's referring to the college, where there was an amount of fly tipping on and land where a gate was opened. That is something that we will send. Can you send a letter to the college and asking them when they're going to clear it up, and also copy in South Norfolk District Council and Margaret Dewsbury, please?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be good. I think we've answered all those points at the moment. Right, so we'll close what we've done for public consultation, and we're going to move on. That I think we've got the full team now with us from Renew Planning and from other departments as well. We have to apologise to Tim who's joined us, that within our agenda we call them renewal planning. It's actually
about that.
my apologies. Okay, Tim, over to yourself.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, councillors. My name's Tim Waters, and I'm speaking to you this evening in my role as the instructed planning consultant on the proposed school development, and with the responsibility for submitting the planning application to Norfolk County Council as the Education Authority. I'm joined this evening by representatives from Norfolk County Council and Porter Cabin Limited, who will be appointed to build the school in the event of planning permission being granted. I'm also hoping that Richard from MPS might still make the meeting.
Richard's there.
He is there. Oh, right. Wonderful. Wonderful. welcome Richard, NPS, who are acting for the County Council on delivering the road access infrastructure and related improvements. The proposal is for a government-funded special needs school catering for 170 pupils aged between 4 and 19 years old, earmarked for the land to the east of the Easton Gymnastics Club and south of the proposed Persimmon housing development, which, as you know, is currently the subject of a reserved matters application, which may or may not get determined in January, February next year. I think you know more about that than me, Peter.
Yes, I'll be covering that later.
The school funding was secured following an application made by Norfolk County Council for a new special school as part of the free school programme in October 2018, based on the demonstrable need for places. It's one of 35 special free schools being funded by the government and the only one for Norfolk. The site was chosen following an extensive site search undertaken by Norfolk County Council, which identified a number of sites owned by Easton College, including this, which meets the size and location brief for the school. Our presentation this evening represents the culmination of a series of community consultation initiatives aimed at raising a local awareness of the development proposal. Central to this was a public webinar presentation held on the 23rd of November, which also included a prior briefing given to councillors Dewsbury and Fisher. I'm going to hand over to you, to Nick Page from Portakabin, who, technology permitting, will show you a fly view of the proposed.
What I'll do is I'll just share so that he can actually have control.
Thank you.
Okay, Nick.
All being well, we'll have a fly through of the school development, and then he'll hand over to Bryony, who will talk to the school plan, and then Richard, who will talk to the site access strategy.
Hey, good evening, councillors. Are you all seeing a fly through?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all good.
Just may need to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I'll talk through as I press play. So, new trees and soft planting will draw visitors and students arriving by foot along the pedestrian avenue towards the school entrance. The two-storey element of the building facing the north addresses the main vehicular and pedestrian approach to the building. A brick plinth wraps around the building, connecting it to its landscape. This is complemented by a timber-style cladding system that provides a soft and natural aesthetic and is enhanced by the use of further cladding systems to punctuate the elevations and create an architectural language in keeping with the school's rural setting. The use of a single-storey wing to the east of the site reduces the perceived mass of the school to its surroundings, whilst also offering access to the external play spaces for all the students. Key zones of the school have been identified with colour to aid familiarity for students. This is a theme that will continue within the school with the use of more muted tones. Informal external landscape define the eastern side of the site with play spaces that will be used for education and recreational purposes. The rear of the school lies the multi-games court and the senior playing fields, overlooked and addressed by the two-storey element of the building with its continued use of materials and architectural language.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Okay. We got any other shared screens that anyone else needs control? From your team, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Bryony, you'll need control, will you not?
Yes, I will.
Hold on, let me just give you that. Okay, you've got control.
Okie dokie. Is everyone seeing that now?
Yep.
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 Evening, everybody. I'm the consultant landscape architect on the project, so have been involved obviously in the site planning. This is an overview of the site in plan. I'll zoom in so you can see a little bit in a little bit more detail, and I'll scroll up and down. If you can see my cursor, this is where the new link road will come into the site. And vehicles and pedestrians will turn almost immediately at an angle facing into the corner of the building where the main entrance will be. There'll be significant parking, so there won't. So it's been planned so that there won't be parking off-site or any need for it off-site. And you'll see from these little vehicles in the plan here, we've also done an experiment just to track the amount of vehicles we can have waiting for pickup and drop off. We've accommodated 35 to come into the site, drop off, go around and come back out again. Once again, with the consideration that we don't want anything outside the site, but, holding up on the roads. The school, as Nick has shown you on the video, is divided into separated outdoor play spaces and outdoor classrooms. The northern part of the site, as you'll see up in the corner, is the highest part of the site. The contours move across the site from northeast to southwest. We will do a little bit of ground contouring within the site just to allow safe and disability access to get up to this higher part, so that this could be used as a meadow and a forest school for the children. We have 2 pitch areas, a smaller pitch to the north end of the site for predominantly the younger cohort, and then an open grassed area to the south. As all of you will know, because I'm sure you all know the site, 3/4 of the boundaries are already shielded from view from by the existing tree lines. We decided that actually along the bottom, where it would be open to agricultural land, once the secure line fence goes in, we will also plant along this bottom here to soften that and screen again. So really the site won't be visible from externally once it's running. There are outdoor play spaces for primary along this eastern side and secondary along the southern cohort on this edge. And all servicing and emergency vehicles come down on this west side and into the back of the school. We will be mitigating for the loss of trees which will occur because of the need to create the access road. So as you see, we will be replanting quite significantly on site. And this will be a net gain on the loss that you will occur because of that. I think that's just about all you probably need to know at the moment. We're just obviously the general ambience of the site is we want to leave it feeling as rural as possible. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you, Bryony. I think we need to try and find a way of Richard.
Okay, I've got Richard on, so what I'll do is, Richard, are you sharing any documents?
I can give it a try. I've got the access road.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll just, hold on, let me find you on the list and I'll give you access rights. Okay, yep, there you go, Richard.
Okay, thank you. I'll just I think this is not actually coming up on my, sorry, I'm on alternative technology tonight, had a few problems. So
yeah.
Tim, is there a way you can get that, the access road drawing up on your from your
I
screen?
have it, Richard, if you want me to share it with.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Stephen, I'll just
Right.
give you permission
Thanks, Stephen.
instead. Okay, you should have it now.
Oh, can everyone
Okay.
see that?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. I think many of you will have be aware of Barbara Road in its current incarnation. The access road to the proposed school is taken off Barbara Road, just south of the eastern conurbation, as we can see. The road itself is at this stage a private road, so it serves only the school, although it is built to adoptable standards in terms of the surfacing and the width, etc. So the road itself, as my colleague has just mentioned earlier, will require the clearance of some trees to facilitate that construction. The compensatory tree planting will be in and around the school site itself, so that the compensatory planting will be done to meet the planners' requirements and ecologists' requirements to do that. There's also some requirement coming back from the County Highways Authority to do some enhancements to Barbara Road, which are probably not too easy to see from this particular drawing, but to the west of Barbara Road, there is to be a pathway, which is extending that western pathway out of the eastern conurbation as far as the school access road. That itself, again, requires a little bit of clearance of shrubs and bushes and some trees, again, which will be suitably compensated. And then the proposed footway crosses the road just to the north of the access road. It's quite difficult to see there. There's a crossing point just north of that. Pedestrians can then transfer to the pathway that goes along the north side of the new access road and into the site. We're still in discussions with the Highway Authority about any street lighting requirements, but our working assumption at the moment is that there's no further street lighting required for Barbara Road as part of this development. The access road itself to the school would probably benefit from some lighting. We're just currently working on the basis of some low bollard lighting, maybe 4, 5 or 6 bollard lights along that access road, which then takes you up to the school gate. Just one other item to note that's not shown on this drawing is that there will be a substation which serves the school just to the right of the access road as you're coming in. Other than that, I don't think there's too much more I can tell you about the enabling works.
All right.
Right. Okay. Tim, have you got anyone else?
I think that's it, Peter. Just to say that where we are in the planning process at the moment, we're aiming to submit the application on the 17th of December, as I think you're aware. Development will be phased, perhaps obviously really, in terms of the road access and the infrastructure improvements coming first before the school development hopefully comes on stream with commencement of works in November next year. The road works would commence in April, May next year. And then the target opening date for the school is January 2023. Obviously, if we can improve on that, it'd be great. But that's the current programme. And the school will take, on current projections, up to 5 years to reach full capacity.
Okay.
We've just recently had a pre-application meeting with Norfolk County Council as well, so it's quite timely that we're having this meeting now.
All right. So I think if we went round with councillors and see what questions they have to start with, then we'll probably have a second round of questions as well. So if we'd like to start with Mark Caton, please.
I've got two questions. The first one is obviously if the persimmon planning is granted, the access route is going to alter Barbara Road. So I'm assuming that would still go ahead as part of their application to try and reduce traffic actually coming in to the lower end of Barbara Road and into the village through Dereham Road access. Because would it be right in assuming that there'd be more like a normal school you would have, or secondary school, you'd have coaches bring a certain number of pupils to the school. This would be a little bit more individual with taxis and private vehicles. So it'd be a little bit more traffic than like a secondary school in Cossey, for argument's sake. So it's just to mitigate some of the traffic issues for that. My other point is what's the actual lifespan of the building?
Stephen, do you want to take the second point first?
I'll take the second point. Yeah. So the buildings themselves, though modular, is just a steel frame building. So this will have a minimum life expectancy of 60 years, but that's a minimum. It will probably be a lot longer than that. So though it is an off-site constructed building, it is, to all intents and purposes, a steel frame building, like a traditional build.
Richard, did you want to answer the first point?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
I can step in.
Okay, I had a bit of a freeze there, so I missed the second part of the question, but I think I heard most of the first question, which was to do with the pick up and drop off. Yes, it is a special needs school. So in terms of the pickup times and drop off arrangements, they are different from a mainstream school, where you would plan for a number of the pupils and parents to be arriving on foot or on bicycle. In reality, with the special needs schools, that doesn't happen. The vast majority of the children do arrive by minibus or taxi. Depends to some degree on the school that's running it and what their particular policies are on that and what the arrangements are. But most of the special schools have worked on that basis, that it is minibus and taxis. So it has it does have a busy period in the morning, 8:30 sort of time, 8:30 to 9, when most of those vehicles will be arriving. The arrangements are very, very coordinated. They have to be by the school because there's a number of these have to line up in the car and take their pupils out, and the dismounting itself takes longer than it would do for the mainstream school. And the same goes for the pickup time. So there is a very orchestrated period in the morning and also at 3 o'clock when the pickup goes. So there will be a fleet of vehicles which come early in the morning, go middle of the afternoon. That's really all I can say about it. Pick up and drop off. Does that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah. It's it's obviously concerning for a village point of view. Is when we do deal with college traffic already, we have issues around the St. Peter's School in the village, as every village does at the end of the day. It's just with the situation with Persimmon and the link road being in question, it's forcing all this additional traffic into the existing network, and there will be additional congestion undoubtedly at certain times. But I take on board the plan. I was pleased to see the amount of parking spaces and 35 vehicles able to access the site to pick up and drop off, and that was good to see. So yeah.
But just to add to that, Mark, sorry, is that?
Oh, sorry, yeah. I was just going to say one of the other key differences with a mainstream school is the mainstream schools, you do, however much you plan it, you do have an issue of parental drop-off where people park outside the school boundary and walk their children the few yards into it. And that itself causes quite a bone of contention in a number of neighbourhoods. Whereas this is not going to happen in a special needs school because pretty much 100% of the vehicles will enter the site, and the dismounting will happen inside the site. So there won't be that degree of scattered cars parking willy-nilly, as it sometimes happens in some places outside mainstream schools. So yeah, that is something a lot more managed in this case. Sorry, carry on, Tim.
No, sorry, thank you, Richard. I was just going to add to that, Mark, in terms of the school development potentially integrating with the Persimmon road infrastructure if and when that does come on stream. So we are mindful of that, and there are ongoing discussions, as you might expect, between our project team and the Persimmon team in terms of the delivery arrangements and timing, crucially, of that infrastructure. Obviously, the reserve matters are still live at the moment, so we don't yet have the sort of surety that is a commitment. But in the first instance, we need to design to the infrastructure as currently is in place, because obviously the school is on a slightly accelerated time frame than the Persimmon scheme, hence the sort of first phase, if you will, nature of the improvements to Borber Road before potentially the Persimmon scheme comes on board later.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Dave Lewis.
I've got no questions, but I'd just like to say it looks like a very, very attractive development.
Okay. Jan?
No, my concerns were the traffic, but I think it's been answered, so that's fine.
Mark Cordy.
Likewise, I was only concerned about traffic. So I've got no further questions.
Okay. Mike Jobling.
Right. The school itself, yeah, 100% great. Let's get on with it. The access, the road, the hump running into the access, if you walk that path, and I'm hopeful that in nice weather, and if people from Easton or local are able to walk there, the conditions wouldn't be right. Not through them personally walking, but a helper or assistant, be it wheelchair assisted, etc. Again, I'm not so sure my ground on that, so forgive me if I'm not wording it correctly. I would like, and I think at the previous meeting saying about a raised platform at the crossing, so you don't go up and down, is if people are walking there, this was the reason for building a footpath, you don't want to ramp down and ramp up, especially if the weather's not so clever. I did quote Taverham High School as being a good example, where they have ramps for children to cross over on, and using a chair or some means of transport would make that a lot easier for the people using them. I'm not sure if I've seen that on the plan as yet. The other thing is, I'm not sure the pathway goes far enough up the Borber Road towards the Durham Road, because if you're expecting people to use it, there's no point in having a path to nowhere. The pathway as you go along the Borber Road to the top does narrow down significantly. And then if you are expecting people, if they are in a situation where they need to get a public bus, they then got to cross the road again at the top because the bus stop's the wrong side on the Durham Road. That's one point. If you do walk along the Borber Road, and I've done that the last few days, there is a big hump as you come up to the top of the hill. It makes it blind. And where the entrance is, in two places, cars are going to be blind to people, especially if they're sitting low, crossing that road. Either the hump needs to be removed, or a formal, proper slowing down process needs to be put in place. You've also said you were going to put a 30-mile-an-hour limit down there. That's not good enough. It needs to be 20 miles and controlled. Again, they do it at the Taverham School. We put a 20 mile outside our school. It works for some people, but do remember that young students going to the college every year, new, with a new car, and they don't have the consideration and the knowledge of the area. And we've all seen them coming up and down the Marlingford Road.
Am I correct?
Yeah, on Bulber Road.
And the Borber Road, yes. We had to get out of the way of one who decided that we didn't need to slow down, even though there wasn't a footpath the other day. If I'd had his number, I would have killed him. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
We understand.
So I would like to see, I'm proposing that it should be a 20-mile-an-hour zone. I'm proposing there should be a raised platform, if not once or twice, once to both sides of the entrance to slow traffic down. And that includes buses and transport going in and out of the school, because we all know the traffic going in and out of our school doesn't form or follow the 20-mile-an-hour limit. Yeah, yeah?
Yes.
The other thing is trucks. I can see that the truck entrance was. I did have a question over where they were going to go in and how they're going to get to the school. Obviously, that covers for articulated lorries. If they need to get an artic in there for furniture delivery, food, sports equipment, I presume that's all been taken into consideration. And the major one, which I don't think, maybe the plan might show it differently. Where is your emergency exit off the site in case the main one is blocked? Fire access. Worst case scenario, there's a big prang at the entrance, 2 petrol-fueled cars. No one can get off site because you've put in secure fencing all the way around. That means you cannot evacuate the site unless you've got a crash site or a crash gates to get out of, and then an access out onto the main road. Has that been considered? Right, that's all for me for now.
Thank you, Mike. I think, Richard, you've got a few questions there.
Let's try to remember them now. The first question, or the first few questions, I think is worth saying that in all essences of the highways design, we are guided by the county highway engineers in their requirements. So the first part of the process is to go what's called a safety audit, which looks in the very technical sense at the current road traffic aspects, road traffic management aspects, and also looks at the future road traffic management aspects, so then considers what it deems to be necessary. Our proposals are guided entirely by what the engineers require us to provide, and that is what we are providing, no more, no less. It's easy to think that we could just put more speed bumps or whatever into more street furniture in than is the minimum, but the engineers wouldn't accept that either, because in the same sense that they don't accept under provision of speed retarding highway engineering, we don't accept over provision of it either. So we have to provide what we're told to provide, and we don't have any design leeway, if you like, in that. So that's why our design is what it is. Just a little bit more background about one or two of the particular points made about the raised platforms or speed bumps. I can see the benefits of those in many general purpose situations, but one of the key things to bear in mind is with the children arriving at the school, these are children with what we call complex needs. So many of them have very severe physical disabilities.
Sorry, Richard, can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
This isn't just about children. This is about staff. Did you know disabled staff can also work in a school?
Yes, I was just going to come to that. Yes,
yeah,
if you don't
let's
mind.
not just focus on children, because we know how they're going to get in. How will staff and assistants all get in, and they can be disabled as well? Well, they can be wheelchair users. There are plenty of teachers out there who are.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just I'll come to that point in a moment. Just in terms of the use of speed bumps, is we have in other special education needs schools actually looked at the issue of speed bumps for the very same reason, to try to mitigate the speed of passers-by. But the impact this has on a minibus, a taxi carrying a child or anybody with any complex physical needs is quite severe. So in the instances where we've encountered this before, we've been told very clearly not to have bumps across the road because of what it does to the the occupants of the sensitive occupants of the vehicles. So it's not. I say that's not.
Are you saying there's no disabled children attend Taverham High School then?
I didn't say that. No.
So why are they allowed to put them there and not here?
Is it worth just saying though, although I completely understand why you're comparing it to Taverham High School, that's a very large mainstream high school, and the nature, obviously the numbers of the pupils is vastly greater, but it's not, although it's still a school, and ultimately people, staff and children and young people come to the site. What's appropriate in highways terms for that facility is not quite the same. I'm not saying there's no similarity, but in many respects, and say we can't, as I think as Richard is making the point well, we can only respond to the comments we've had from highways. To try and add our expertise is not welcome. We'll come on to some of the other issues, but I'm not to say that I completely understand. I know Taverham High School really well. I've been there many times, but it's what, 1,000-place school, high school, possibly more.
It only needs one person to want to use that access, and they're exempt from using it. It's my point. Is you've got the opportunity to do it properly first time round, not after the event.
Well,
and
that's what I'd
highways
like to come on to. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
It's all right. No, it's fine.
One of the things that we do in mainstream schools is we hold a very small amount of money back to come back and review a school development. And one thing that I could ask county councillors to consider is whether or not we do the same in this case. Now, it's not going to be enormous things, but what we can do is just kind of tweak things like road lines and speed limits and all of those sorts of things. Obviously, we've got to try and dovetail in with Persimmon and their plans, but certainly from a county council perspective, in previous school developments, we've tried to go back and just have a quick check to make sure what we've provided has worked. And this is something that we could consider in this case as well. It won't be necessarily quite the level of engineering that I think you're suggesting, but we can just take an opportunity to say, is there a small improvement that we could make that will make a big difference to the operation of the school in the site?
Okay. Well, you've said your piece. We've had discussions with highways, and it's all about how many people die before they do the road improvements. I don't know whose conscience that wants to be on, but I'm trying to stop that. So yeah, that's my comment. And the fact is that we have students there. It's a rat run from the villages. Some people need just to walk around there at 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the evening, and then they get the understanding, especially in this light. Now you talk about lighting, especially if you're in a wheelchair crossing that road, people won't see you unless you've got flashing lights and all the sorts of gizmos that a normal car would have.
I do wonder if it's worth just saying, Richard and I have both been involved directly in a project that delivered a special school, a brand new special school in another quite rural village. And it wasn't looking for development in the same way that Easton has, with the possibility of the Persimmon development. But there were similar concerns about speed limits and fast traffic. And often we find that the people who drive really fast are local people who know the road really well. So when and there was a lot of concern, a huge amount of concern about speeding in this village and the impact of, in a very similar way, an access road and minibuses pulling out and coming in, traffic coming in and out of the site. And the speed limit was moved and all the same sorts of things that we've talked about here, and there was a footpath. But actually, once the school was built, the behaviour of those people did change. And because they were people who knew the road and knew that there was a change and knew that there was traffic coming out and going in at certain times of day. Now, I'm not saying that's identical to Easton, but there are some significant similarities, and it really made me think about what happened there. And actually, once the school opened, and it opened in a similar way, it gradually increased in size, that actually those concerns didn't come to fruition. And
I can only tell you what's happening at the moment. And outside our little school,
it's high-speed motoring, and that's even the parents who take their children to school, and that's from the first drop off in the morning to the last drop off or the last collection in the evening.
All right.
So yeah, we can only, if that's as far as we can go, then
At the moment, I think I am mindful of time. The highways is a big issue. Some
one
of the
entrance. No one's
things
covered
that-
the one entrance access, emergency access.
that needs addressing, but I don't think it's going to be able to be addressed tonight because that's quite detailed.
Yes, yes.
I would like someone to come back to us with regard to emergency entrance exit if the main entrance is blocked. Tim, can you arrange for someone to come back?
Yes, by all means, we can take that point away and
and come
indicate
back
that.
on that.
Definitely.
I just want to raise a few points. One, I don't want to see any lights on Bulber Road. We actually are a village. We don't want lights. If you want to put some bollard height lights on your private entrance, that's your right to do so. We don't want them in our village. We don't want the responsibility of them, nor the upkeep or maintenance costs or anything like that. We don't want street lights. The majority of Easton has no street lights. The whole new Persimmons development will not have street lights. We are a village. We are not a town. If people want street lights, they go live in towns, not in villages. So I would say with your road works that you want to do on your road, I don't know how long it's going to take to do some of the road changes, but anything affecting the main Bulber Road, what you're going to need to do is try and schedule that in for the college holidays, the summer holidays, because you do get an awful lot of traffic going down that road. So you need to be thinking about joined up approach to thinking about other things going on, not just your development, but also the impact it has on those around you, like the gym and so on, the gym club, how people are going to be able to get there. So those are important things. The 20-mile-an-hour zone, I'm in full agreement that should be 20 mile an hour. The whole of the Persimmon site, if it comes forward, and that's a big if, because I'll be discussing that shortly, is 20 miles an hour. So the feed-in road, the new feed-in road will do, if Persimmons, I don't say when, and I use a big if Persimmons come forward, is going to be, we'll deal with that hump, that will deal with that hump, but you've got to deal with it as though they're not coming. And anything you do, you need to assume Persimmons aren't coming. But 20 mile an hour is what we'd want to see outside of school. We'd like to see, we had to help invest in the flashing lights to slow traffic down near the entrance to the village school. Why should we have to be doing that in the future? Because we pointed it out to you now, we want to see you do that now as part of your scheme, putting in safety measures that protect all the residents of the area as well as those visiting the area. It's really, really important that this area is a 20 mile an hour zone, because we all know taxi drivers do not drive within the limits. We know, there's so many cases of it. You see them shoot by in the bus lanes, you're doing 30 and they whiz past you. And you've got a smile there. So we know it happens. So we want to slow this traffic down. We know there's a dip at the moment. If you go into that dip, and it's right around where the national speed limit signs are as you exit the village, cars cannot be seen from the other side. They just vanish.
Oh, yeah.
So we think 20 miles an hour needs to be there. I'm concerned about how far you want to go in your yellow area for removing trees from a bank. You're taking a huge. You've got a footpath, but you're going past the footpath 2 to 3 times to remove more and more trees. What is the reasoning behind that?
Do you want me to start coming back on those, Peter? So just the last one first. I think in terms of clearing the road, clearing the site for the access road, yes, you have to clear the shrubbery and the trees from where the tarmac is going to be, but there's also the important consideration of visibility splays. So from any particular point on that, it's necessary under the highway regulations to have views for, depending on whether you're turning left or right, it's 30 meters or 50 meters visibility to either carriageway. So that design parameter defines how far the vegetation clearance has to go. But as I said, all of the vegetation that will be cleared will be compensated for by more than 1-to-1 ratio. So
it's not just vegetation. You've got animals. This is countryside you're taking away. You're actually going down in a bank. There's a big bank there. Have you actually walked it?
Yes, I have walked this. Yes, I know that bank.
There's a big bank there.
Yes, we know, and
So
that
why you actually
defines the design as well.
What has that got to do with the visual display? That the other side of the footpath, what has that got to do with the visual display to take out so much land of the shrubbery and the trees and so on? Because you don't just take out some of them. By the way that this is designed, it takes out the majority of the trees on the whole area. Because you can't just take half a tree out, and that's the way that's designed.
I agree with you in your concerns. We certainly don't want to take out any more trees or bushes than is absolutely necessary to do the job. And putting aside the requirement for visibility displays, etc., which are defined to us by the highway authority again. There is the impact of tree survival rates. As soon as we actually build any tarmac over any part of the root zone of a tree, it's more than likely to kill the tree, whether it's in a short period of time or a longer period of time.
Area is nowhere close to the tree. I'm sorry, you're coming out with comments. I've been looking at so many plans these days. The tarmac area is nowhere near the tree root for any major damage to those trees which are sitting further down the banks. So why, and what has that got to do? You said it was because of visual display. Explain how the trees down a bank have anything to do with visual display.
Sorry, we need to look at the specific trees, but I can assure you that there's no trees that we're taking out that don't need to be taken out. It doesn't give us any pleasure to cut down the tree. We're not trying to do that,
You still haven't answered the question.
Malice.
Sorry.
No, we need to look at the specific trees you're talking about. So it's hard to do whilst not
There's
looking at a plan.
Area which you marked, which is, as I look at my plan, to the west of the footpath, a huge area which is marked in yellow area, hatched yellow, to the west of the footpath that you're going to remove. You said it was to do with visual display. Please explain how and why that's to do with visual display, given that it's down in a dip.
Can I just suggest, Peter? I think this is if you're kind enough to mark up the plan, the areas that you're concerned about, we can get a more.
I take it you haven't got your own plan in front of you.
I haven't got the plan in front of me. I'm sorry, but if we
take
that one away, we can give it specific.
Peter, we can take away that comment. We can take away that comment and respond. Okay. We've done a tree and ecology survey of that land.
I'm not sure.
So it's we can provide you with an informed response.
Yes, please. And I don't want these happening.
We can clarify the number of trees that would need to be removed, A, for the access road, and B, for the widening, and also what category and health status those trees are.
Yeah, your actual school building, brilliant. Every part of that is fantastic. But when it comes to highways, and especially Norfolk County Council and highways, That is a totally different story. And where you say you just have to take what they say, no, there is a negotiation that takes place. You can suggest things and they will bring them in. I've been at many a meeting where one of the highways officer, Liz Poole, has said, oh, there's no need for that. But by the time we finish discussion, what we've requested has been put in because it was sensible as a safety measure. So please don't say you have to just rely on what they say. It's not just that. You can put these other things in as safety measures and be forward thinking. Yes, Isabel.
I just want to, I'm really conscious of time, but I think that it has to be, for us, it's a fine balance because obviously highways are a statutory consultee, but money that is, we have to finely balance what is actually directly relating to the school development and what might be other issues which don't. Now, I'm not saying that there is a mix in here, but we need to be clear that anything that we do as an improvement is about the school development and is appropriate for the school development. And that's where our discussion, I know Liz Poole very well. One of her colleagues, John Hanna, is the consultee from the development team who looks at school developments. Now, you know, there are some ways that, you know, if we had all the money in the world that we could think about other things, but we're not going to do that. It's going to have to be about the school development. I'm not saying, and I'm really keen that we get it right, but there, you know, there's obviously a bit of debate about where the speed limit changes. I know what you're saying about 20 miles an hour, but highways are quite careful about how you then have a gradual kind of move between 20 and 30 and then out to a 60 area. So these are discussions we've had elsewhere. We'll do what we think, well, first of all, we'll do what NCC Highways think is the best thing, but also any other improvements are going to have to be proportionate to the development of a school of this size. Yeah. So it's not to say they won't happen, it's just that we need to bear that in mind from a Norfolk County Council perspective. I work with highways, it's not the same department, but and you know, I can't say whether or not they're right or wrong. I know that they're very professional people and they do the best they can, as we all do as professional people. They don't always, I'm sure none of us get it right all 100% of the time, but as I say, I'm willing to see if we can hold some money back, a small amount of money in the budget for the road to come back and reassess when the school has been operational for a little while to see whether any other small improvements need to be made.
Okay, Isabel, can I just throw this one into the pot? We're talking about the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. You're talking to highways. If we're going to move the speed limit, move it all the way down to the college. Students walk up there in the dark all the year round on the road.
That's a judgment that highways would make. I can't comment. I say I've that's not something that I can comment on, and it will be a discussion with the college. I can't because I don't know what happens with the college. Now the school is different. Obviously, they're on the same road, and there is an issue. In some respects, though, that's a pre-existing issue, and highways must look at that on a regular basis if there is an issue. Because one of the things that we know about is that if it's in their post bag, they'll try and draw it into any of our projects because we've had those issues previously. Yeah. But it's not to ignore what you're saying.
If it's not an issue, if it's only an issue if someone raises it, we're now raising it.
And I'm sure you've raised it before. But I will.
No,
we'll see what.
Not formally.
Okay. Well, maybe that's something to consider because it will change the view of highways if these things are raised.
Right. What we'll do is we'll do it outside of this meeting. We'll move it on. Has any parish councillors got a final thought or question? Mark, have you got anything else?
I think there's merit to what was said tonight. I've lived in this village since I was 4 years old. I've walked that road to catch a school bus. I've cycled that road before I had a driving licence. I've belted my car down that road when I did have a driving licence. But we are not a blanket normal village of Norfolk because we do have the college at the end of that road. We have special needs students going to Easton College now. We know what sort of traffic that brings, and we see firsthand the taxis who would drive immaculately on the way there and belt out the village on the way back. We have coaches and buses that back up on Barbara Road because they're not allowed into the college grounds until a certain time to do the pickup. They've reduced the bus surfaces at the college, so we get more students walking Barbara Road, coming back up to the village to use both bus stops on Dereham Road. We are probably one of the only villages in Norfolk that has this problem now. We do not want to make that matter worse by having a death on our hands through more speeding traffic in the village. I think that needs to be taken and be a mindful item moving forward.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, David, do you have any final words you want to say?
No.
No. Mark Cordy?
No, but I totally agree with what Mark just said.
Yeah. Jan, do you have any other comments? No, you're on mute.
No, I agree with what's been said. You know, we do have to be mindful of what's going on in the village regarding the traffic.
Now, Mike, have you anything new, right, that you want to add?
No, I think I've finished at the
Okay,
moment.
excellent. Right.
Until I find something else.
No, it's all right. Careful with my wording there. Look, I'd like to thank you all for coming. I know that we all very much like the proposal for the school. I love the layout as a teacher, of now retired teacher. I think it's brilliant what you put together. I think it would be excellent facility. Our issue is knowing this area, living this area, and we know the roads. And that's why we're raising it as the concern. So please take that away. Once I know who your highways officer is, who you're liaising with, please tell me. And I will certainly make them aware of what we want, and we will be demanding meetings with them. And we will get our county councillor and district councillor and all sorts involved, because we know this area. And Isabel, you're going to give us the name? Right.
I'm just saying, one of the things though is just is a note of caution, is that if you spend too long trying to attach the existing issues of the college to this development, it will potentially mean that the school will be very delayed. Now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't raise these issues, but I think it needs to be logged as a separate issue. One of the things that Tim and colleagues we have commissioned is a traffic assessment of the road. Yeah. And so that will be picked up, all of those issues around the timing of the traffic and the quantity of the traffic. That's what some of that assessment will show us, and actually that will dictate some of the development. So I can give you the name of the highways development colleague who works with Liz Poole. He's called John Hanna.
Oh yeah.
So you might know him already. In reality, they're a relatively small team, but we work really hard to make sure that we put in the right types of road works.
That's fine. We certainly do not want to slow this development. If I could have this on site tomorrow, I would, because I know how important it is for Norfolk. You know, this is a vital school to go into Norfolk. It is so needed. So we do not want to slow that down in any shape or form, but we also have to think about safety. So if we can work a way of fully supporting the building of this school, but looking at ways that we can ensure highway safety, we will do so.
I think it's why it's essential to separate out some of what is actually about the children at the college and what is about this school development, because I think although there is a connectivity, that isn't actually the main problem.
Yeah. No,
and there are two separate discussions that need to be had here. The sort of existing issues, Peter, and the and those that you sort of relate to the school, and our application has to be judged
feedback,
on the school.
You know, accordingly. I'll talk to you over the next few days, I'm sure, Tim, and I would like to thank you all very much for your attendance this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you. And your
Yeah, thank you.
presentation, if we could get copies of your presentations, I'll get it up on the Parish Council website so that people can see, because the last time I looked, it still wasn't on your own website portal, unless that's changed in the last 48 hours.
It is now, Peter.
It is now. Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again. All right. So we need
Thanks,
to
Peter.
move on. Okay. Right. So land sale on Dereham Road. I'm really pleased that things are moving and progressing really well. We are at the point now of the Section 106 about to be signed. We're just waiting for it to come out of MP law. Went back into MP law after the final agreements were made on sums of money. And I'm pleased to announce that we will be better off by about an extra £50,000 for maintenance budgets for open space and play areas for the next 10 years. So we're hoping, Margaret Dewsbury wrote to MP Law today asking for an update. So hopefully that is like a gentle chase to MP Law. So any MP Law members listening to what we're saying, please hurry it up because we'd like to get it sorted. So that's really, really good news. Right, next one. Has anyone got any questions with regard to the Dereham Road? We should be expecting, if everything goes to plan, we should be getting the money coming from that development around about mid-February. Okay. Next one on from that is the Persimmons housing development. I've sent you an email this evening. They finally put up all the amendments. They've taken on board a lot of what we've said. They've done a lot of adjustments, but what we need to do is go through, as with everything with Persimmons, through with a fine tooth comb. We're going to spend a lot of time, a lot of effort on this. We get 21 days to respond to their application. Francis is going to ask them to have it after our next meeting, but they don't have to allow for that, but hopefully Chris Watts will allow for that. But from what I can gather, they want to have it heard in mid-January. I think it's more realistic to give Chris a chance to get all the replies in, especially given Christmas. It'll be February, possibly into March, when that'll come up. I've had a very quick look and I'm very pleased with a number of the things, but everything's in the fine detail, you know, so we need to look at the fine detail of every part of it. So if people can start having bits of looks at the plans, that would be really grateful. I've shared the documents and I've put all the documents in separate folders to make them easier for you to navigate. And they've even got garages now where you can actually park a car in them. You know, Persimmons building garages, you can park a car in them. Now that has got to be a first.
Unique development then.
Yep, it's unique. You know, they're building, they've changed the spec on a number of their properties so that their garages will actually fit a car into them. Now, that to me is
Probably can't get in and out. You can't get in and out of the kitchen, but you can get in and out of the garage.
Yep, that's fine. There are some issues which we'll address, but please have a look at what was sent through. On from that is, yes, we're going to be spending a lot of time now. What I've been advised by Persimmons, they will no longer be going forward with phase T, which is phase 5 of their development, be due to problems they found for the Environment Agency raised. So the Burr Pit site will not be coming forward. They don't want any of the land that's owned by the Rampton Trust. From what I understand from Persimmons, there are some now legal issues going on in the background, which if they're not agreed, the consortium would never have an agreement. of the sale. I understand Chris Nix is in charge of dealing with things, which is good. I'm sure he'll come up with the right sort of compensation to the Rampton Trust that they deserve for the scheme, so that they'll agree to things. So we can only move forward with that. Has anyone got any questions about Persimmons Homes? No. Okay. We've got 2 planning applications. Francis, do you want to discuss these? Because there is also a problem with the portal. At South Norfolk, their server's gone down. So I don't think it's up and running anymore. So Francis, do you want to mention the 2?
Yeah, I mean, it was just tonight going on because I wanted to download some of the plans, and I couldn't basically download anything. What I've sent out to you last week had the details of the schemes. So hopefully you've got those. I'm happy to read those out. I'm hoping you've got them in front of you. We've got 1991 is the first one, which is a variation from a previous application we looked at last year. So I'm happy to read out whatever you need from that one, really. But if you've got the details that I sent you, you'll have at least the outline of what's being required. Do you want me to go through those, Peter? And I mean, I can read through.
No, I think everyone will have their details.
Yeah.
I think if we're looking at 1991, we've got some sensible things in there, like sorting out the drop curb for the new access. These are all important things that need to just be sorted. The only one anyone I thought of those what they might want to question is the garage door being replaced with a window. I bet no one may have any feelings about that.
Not a problem to me.
No.
Not what I've seen of it. No.
No. Anyone got any problems with that one? Because I couldn't see any problems.
I had a quick look at the plans before. Obviously, the server crashed this evening, and I didn't see anything of any concern.
I think no one seemed to say any problems with that one. I think we should go for approve those changes and amendments. I think some of them are very sensible ones. Getting that drop curb in place is quite an important one. Needs to be sorted out. So Francis, can you get that sorted?
That's fine. Yeah, and that follows on from last year's where we approved that application in the first instance.
Okay. Next one we move on to is the application 2020-2033. I've had a good look at this one. Hopefully you've all had a look at it. The only thing I would have is I just needed clarification. Was the hedge being replaced with a fence, a wooden fence? That's the only thing that concerned me over that one. Was there going to be a change from hedging to a wooden fence? But you know, it's nothing that we can actually, within planning terms, have a say on.
No.
But other than that, I thought that was an acceptable development. How do people feel about that one?
It looked all right when I saw it first time. I was trying to look this afternoon again, but I couldn't get into it. But I didn't see any issues with that at all.
No. Mark, you're probably more of an expert when you cast your eye on these things.
Yeah, again, I mean, I only had opportunity to look briefly tonight, and it was while I was looking at that, that one of the drawings wouldn't load, so the server was obviously crashing at that point. I haven't been able to get back on it since.
So it was you that broke it?
Probably. I'm quite good at that. From what I saw, I had no objections whatsoever, and I think with terms of the neighbourhood plan, it met policies.
Yeah.
within that, parking and all the normal, we normally have a bit of banter about. I had no concerns whatsoever.
No, I must admit, I looked at it and thought it was a very good, well designed, compared to some of the shocking things we've seen recently.
Absolutely.
This was properly designed architecturally, and it will look good and fit nicely into that area. So I'd like to propose, unless anyone has any objections, that we approve that one. No objections?
Chair?
We're approving it.
Can we just have a proposal in a second?
Okay, I'll propose it.
I'll second it.
Yeah, Mark put a second. And all in favour?
You're under declaration, Chair.
Peter, going back to the first one, going back to 1991. Sorry, Mark. Going back to 1991. Do we want to can we just do the same for that as well?
Yeah,
for the record?
yeah. We're in agreement.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll use the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Haven't got any other planning matters that we need to raise at the moment. We've got no public participation. Financial matters, I hand over to Francis and Mark.
Do you want me just to state something, Mark? We've got the precepts ongoing discussions, so we'll be picking that up at the next finance and governance meeting to bring the proposed precept to the council on the 4th of January.
Yeah.
We have until the 15th to get the precept in, so we'll be fine on that one.
Can I ask the question about the allotments?
Yeah. So basically, Mike, I've got the I've used your readings. I've got their final readings because they changed the meter in October.
Yeah.
And basically, what I'll do for the finance governance meeting is I'll do a table, and I'll basically show all the usage for the last 2 years, and we'll use that as a basis for setting it for next year. But I need to just analyze. I've just got to take all the water bills and basically just put them into a table so you can see. It's one thing what was charged, but this will be on usage, okay? And the rates did change as well. So I'll do all that for the meeting, and then we can set the water charge on a realistic figure based on what's happened last 2 years.
Okay, that's right.
Okay.
So that's that one. I just wanted to mention with the audits, so PKF they've approved the accounts. The only issue that they had was this thing where I excluded a day because I had failed to see that one of the days, you get 6 weeks, whatever it is, for the parishioners to review the accounts, and I'd failed to pick up one of the bank holidays. That they don't count that. So we needed to have had an extra day of.
We dealt with that straight away by
we did
an amendment that went on the parish council website.
But they still like to put it in, Peter, because that gives them something to write.
Justifies their money.
Proof they looked at it.
But if everyone's got, I had no one wanted to know anything about the accounts, but it's not the point. They do their bit, and so that's fine. The bit about what happens with the audit next year, I will, because of the fact that we will have a much higher amount of money in our bank account by the end of this financial year, I'll give you an update on that at the finance governance meeting, and we can look at what we do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because obviously that potentially going to affect finances within that year, isn't it?
And that will come into the precept calculation as well. So I have to have those figures. I'll have that discussion with PKF in the meantime, and we'll sort out what we do. And that may be in terms of internal audit as well. So there's a bit of work I've got to do on that.
Yeah. Okay.
The only other thing, Mark, was the reserves position, which is what we discussed. We've now got to the point where we discuss all that now back in the finance meeting. Very happy just to kind of review to the other councillors what we discussed at the finance governance meeting, which was at the end of October. the council had a bank balance of 37,680 in earmarked funds, and 17,430 pounds in general funds. We're still expecting our good old tax or VAT receipt, which we've not had from HMRC, which we'll put in again for. And basically, we're looking at a figure of about 12,500 for a final reserve position once we've taken out the the sign which Ian Wickham's doing.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I just wanted to bring up was what I've asked to do in terms of the various bits and bobs for the playground costings, if that's okay. So I've basically, you asked me to get a split of the costs that Action Play and Leisure had provided. And I've got that here. I'm going to get my hands on it. I apologise for the delay. Basically, what they've said is that to fix the picnic table will cost £90 and £170 worth of labour. So that's net cost of £260. And to sort out the sad little problem with the the old gym equipment bases, flatten those off totally on the side nearest the hedge, that will cost £205. This is without VAT. So that's 260 for securing the bench, because the kids like to move that around otherwise, and to sort out the protruding gym equipment bases, 105. I haven't had a conversation with Stuart regarding anything the college might do. I think we better put that off when Stuart's going to be back in at the next meeting, and I'll talk to him before the meeting on whether he can get the college to do anything. But I guess he's not had the time recently. He's got some, personal things.
Family
taking up his
concerns.
time. Family concerns. That's right, Peter. The best way of putting it. Yeah, it's good.
So Francis, does it include some form of chain or padlock?
Yes.
For the table? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
That's right. It's got to be grass cutting head on. That's all.
Yeah, so they can move it about a bit just to cut underneath.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing on that was the signs, the dog signs. Now we can pay. I mean, I can get some laminated metal signs from Amazon for about a tenner. There was a company that looked. I don't know how good those signs would be. I'm not always sure about getting stuff from Amazon. A more reputable company called the Sign Shed were doing metal. Well, they were 3mm aluminium signs with the ability to attach them to either a post or a fence, and those were £30.95 each.
The problem with aluminium, it has a value. Because that's why a lot of the street signs were changed to plastic, because the aluminium signs were being recycled.
Okay. So you don't want aluminium.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would take a flyer with the plastic to try.
Not laminates. There's a couple of companies. I'll talk to you about some companies that we could use that we used the last time round for the other signs, and they were reasonably priced.
Yeah.
Are they going to be in the? They probably won't be Amazon price, Peter. But if they're going to last and not get stolen, it's worth it. So.
The difference is you're getting everything can't be bought from Amazon, because you have to know what you're getting, and we've got to get some quality signs that are not going to fall to pieces within a few weeks or a few months. I'm sure Amazon signs don't do that, but where possible, if there's a comparison price locally, I'd rather use local company if we can. Otherwise, we won't have any local companies.
Yeah.
Acrylic
is good.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the final thing was in terms of the bylaws sign for Jubilee Playing Field. I've spoken to Ian. He reckons about £80, might be a fraction more, but that would be a nice looking oak sign with a perspex front, which will mean that the actual bylaws will still be able to read them in a few years' time, as opposed to them being degraded by rain, etc. So he's willing to do that. He's had a look, and he reckons it might be a bit more. He's just got to get the price of a bit of perspex, and then all I need to do, I've actually got the bylaws. I am going to get a copy of made so that we've got a spare, because it's always worth having that. And that will just jowls. I mean, that might be might be.
No, there is a company that I'll give you the details offline of who to use to get those done properly, because we do need them done properly and perfectly.
Okay.
All right. So, is that it, Francis?
Yeah, I mean, the rest of it we'll just cover in the final.
All right, no problems. Mark, have you got any final bits finance-wise?
No,
okay. All right, moving on. Correspondence received. We've received some, and it was sort of mentioned earlier, about some fly tipping. We've got a video now of a resident deciding that they were sweeping up all the leaves and dumping them on public land, which is fly tipping. I won't name the individual concerned, but it is happening on an area where the car parking is. And if you go past on Marlingford Road, you'll see a big lump of leaves, and that's being deposited by a local resident on there. And there is now a video of that. So we have to decide, do we want to pass that to South Norfolk District Council for their consideration, or just speak to the individuals concerned?
My view is the first place to speak to the individual concerned and get them to clear it up.
I've had one conversation already, and the story goes that the piece of land in question is actually, it's council land, and through a very long-standing arrangement going back, well, decades really, what they do is they cut the grass instead of the council cutting it, and therefore the leaves, which is the litter, they basically brush the leaves off the grass to onto the other bit of grass, which is council cut, but they brush the leaves off in order that they can cut the bit of grass that's outside their property.
I should say these are leaves off their own tree.
Well, it was argued that the trees have actually come off a tree at the school, and it's not a tree from their property. So that's how that was described to me. So it's not their leaves, Peter. The
point is, it doesn't matter whose leaves are. They've taken leaves off one piece of land and knowingly swept them up and deposited them on another piece of land. That is fly tipping. Well, they've taken leaves off one piece of our land, nature put them there, and they've dumped them on another piece of land where they're in such a way now nothing will grow under it and all the grass will die. So what do we do? What do you want to do?
I think the first port of call should really be to talk to the homeowner first.
Francis is trying this.
So, I mean, we could have the approach of saying to them, well, the council will cut the grass if they don't want to, in which case, that, you know, I can certainly ask CGM. They're going to confirm the contract for next year, so we could ask them to add that little bit on and do that extra. In which case, then there won't be an issue any longer, because that grass will just be left alone until the council, our contractors deal with it.
Yeah.
So that would be one. That would be one approach.
Yeah.
The alternative is, sorry, Mike, just say the alternative would be to say to them, well, we're very happy you cutting the grass, but instead of brushing the leaves somewhere else, can't you just put them in a bag instead? Because it doesn't cost too much to put them in a big bin liner of leaves. You know.
Or put them in their brown bin.
Yeah. Well, give them the options first, Francis, then come back to the next meeting and we can talk to CGM if it's necessary.
I mean, I imagine there wouldn't really be any increase in the price of the work.
No.
But I have got a call into them to find out in case, you know, there might be.
Yeah. That's fine. While we're on the subject of that area, all the Russian vine has been chopped down between Buxton Close and the Jubilee Play Park. Did South Norfolk do that, or did a local resident do that?
South Norfolk came with a digger. I've been advised that they came with a digger and dug out a load of stuff. They also then went and decided to push a whole load of stuff over onto a resident's caravan.
Oh, yes.
And then said that they didn't own the land when they were challenged. and the house owner said, well, it's there, I've got my deeds, this land doesn't belong to me. You know, so I have recommended that the landowner goes back to the council, the South Norfolk District Council, advising them of what the workforce did, and the individual needs to check if their caravan has been damaged by what was done.
Well, there's some large branches being hacked off a tree that was in their property or beside their property.
Yeah, they destroyed. There was a tree that was within the property boundary, which is owned by the landowner, and that was destroyed by these workmen with no permission.
Yeah, it's a mess if you ever see it.
Yeah.
Is this the walnut tree we're talking about here?
No, the walnut tree is just being trimmed, I think, maybe by the resident. It's a tree behind that was beside the caravan.
Oh, right, okay.
Possibly what's caused the damage, but I can't confirm or deny that.
That's up to the resident to deal with this. It's something that the parish council can't deal with. It is for the resident to deal with.
Mark, as you come out your drive, if you could drive a bit slow, you might be able to have a proper look.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
It's dark when I drive out of my driveway.
Oh, tough. You got headlights?
All right. I'm mindful of time because I want to try and. Have we got any other correspondence that needs dealing with?
Well, Peter, the other thing that we were just probably needed to raise was, which is quite important really, was just the fact that there'd been a letter received from the Ormiston regarding the school allocation, their allocation policy for St. Peter's, and the fact that they would not be taking children in from St. Peter's Primary in the next academic year, at the end of the next academic year, which has serious implications really for a lot.
Yeah, they stepped back from their position of where they were going to stop the children from St. Michael's. They ran away from that one, which I thought they would. So we're we're no further forward really. All we can do is put some more pressure, and hopefully when Martin gets back, he can in January put some pressure on them, because that's his remit. We do also have some very good news. I've now had Openreach get in contact with us, and that was today, and I've sent the details through to Francis. We have a price for converting every property in Easton across to fibre to property, so every house can have fibre to their property. Who would like the price?
Is it a telephone number or is it a price?
It's a good number.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to cost us, best case scenario, absolutely nothing. However, people, we have to get to apply for a government grant. And there's two different parts to the government grant, because the overall cost is approximately £250,000. If I say it quickly, it doesn't sound too much, but we can get it all covered by government grant. Now, that doesn't mean every single house has to take the scheme up, but every house that commits to the scheme will end up and will be putting a portal up and so on. And I think we need to get a working group together to get as many people as possible to join the scheme. Every residential property will be able to have £1,500 allocated into the pot to pay towards the fibre from the government. But if, say, you are self-employed or you run a business from home, you get the allocation of £3,500. My son's, I've checked it out with him today, my son's business is registered to my property and I do all the website stuff for him, son. So £3,500 rather than, because it's for business. So we want to encourage all the businesses, as long as, he said, as long as someone is got either PO, they're not PAYE, they're self-employed reference number or something like that to show that they are, they've got their own business, and that's fine. They will be able to attract the higher amount. So we've got to put this all together. I've got now the contact. I want to see if we can get a small working group together so we can look at this, so we can really maximize the number of people taking it on board. It's split into two parts. There's 200 odd houses which are on the Cossey Exchange, and there's about 400 houses on the Hollingham Exchange. And so what we've got to do is that it'll all come together. The first part that we've got the full figures for and approval letter would be with the Cossey Exchange. The Hollingham Exchange will get all the details, the formalised letter, in the beginning of January. So we've got a chap called Ryan who's dealing with it all, and he sounds a really good chap, and he's going to give us as much assistance as we want. He's going to help us with some letters and all sorts of things, and then we could get those out to people. And also thinking about that, thinking that we may want to put out a COVID message for Christmas of, let's be careful, the vaccine's on its way, let's not be silly at Christmas, otherwise we're going to have a third wave, and we don't want that. So it's getting that message across to people that the hub is there, the numbers are there, and then the other side of the document we can use to maybe promote this scheme. How do people feel about that?
That sounds a good use, a double use for one thing. I think it's good. That'll get people to look at it.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We need to get it out just before Christmas or a week after Christmas. Yeah. If not, get swept away.
I'd like to get it out before Christmas, because we've got to try. It's very nice to see relatives and go see extended family and so on, but we're so close to resolving this pandemic with a inoculation vaccine. We don't want to undo it, and we've got to try and persuade people to sort of, you know, not cancel Christmas, but be sensible and not have big parties and break the rules. I know some people will just ignore and say, oh, it won't affect us. Well, they hope it doesn't, but it's not just them, it's lots of other people. So we need to get a message out there. I think it's responsible to do, and we've been given some money to do that.
Yeah.
So Peter, you're basically, it would be the third of it would be in the sort of trilogy of postcards.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying, to go out? Okay.
Yeah.
What I'd just like to add is to that is to, if you like, reconnect with the helpers that we have. We still have, I mean, the scheme's still going in terms of, we've still got the phone, we've got the connection with South Norfolk, but we haven't had to use it. My concern, and it may be just a personal concern, but my concern is that if things may not go very well in January and maybe towards the end of January in terms of basic provisions, food supplies, and I don't want to be a bit of a scaremonger, but we saw what happened at the start of the first pandemic. If the supermarkets start to empty because people are just panicking, thinking that all the lorries are going to be stuck at Dover and they're not going to be anywhere.
Yeah, it's a double whammy.
And then the supermarkets do empty, and then they don't restock because all the food and everything else is stuck at Dover. Then we may be in a position where, as per the start of the pandemic, we may need to be in a position where we can help people. I think medicines is that really worries me, the medicines thing. And again, I might be over egging this.
Yeah, medicines will be flown in. I don't think we need to worry about medicines at all. Okay. Medicines, at worst case, will be flown in. The government has got strategies in place. I think medicines will not be a problem. It is the other things that we take for granted, like loo roll. But I'm sure most households must have, after the last lockdown, still have supplies.
I can say 10 or each. I got some at home here if you want.
Not profiteering or anything.
Not at all, no. Just
and for our audience out there, Mike was only joking.
Okay. Well, I've got the ability with Erica, we can vacuum pack toilet rolls, so we can actually send it through the post and it'll go through the letterbox. So you know, that's another alternative if people are really
let's not.
Anyway, sorry. But going back to the thing with a postcard, we can do another postcard.
Yeah.
Again, it would be a matter of I've got a letter that could be sent to our helpers asking if they'd like to come and basically deliver the card, reconnect in case we need them, and we need a system, emergency plans basically for January, and that's forgetting the weather.
Yeah.
That's just at that. Yeah. So I'm happy to do that and get a card out to everyone to get their views.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Mark, you happy with that? Mark, okay.
Yeah, I've got no problem with that.
Yeah, Mike seemed happy. Mark Cordy, you happy? Just nod. Dave, you happy?
Yeah, that's all right.
Sorry?
That's all right. That's fine.
Yeah. Jan, you happy?
Yes, I'm happy.
Excellent. So I think that's the only things we've got.
I've got two things very quickly, Peter.
You've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've got 5 minutes. I've got Margaret Dewsbury's report I will just send to everyone as she couldn't make it tonight. So that was one thing. And the second thing was I sent to everyone details of planning training that South Norfolk are doing. There are a couple of nights when they're 6 o'clock. I think one of them is actually 6 o'clock next week. They're free sessions, and it basically is talking about how the planning process works, which might be quite useful to everyone.
Yeah.
But I've sent that through. I'm very happy to relay people's request to join, I basically signed up, but they can sign up themselves, and that's fine.
I think it's a worthwhile thing to do. Okay, it is now 9:26. We're able to close the meeting 4 minutes early. Thank you all very much for your attendance. Thank you to our audience on YouTube for attending and putting up with us and the slightly late start. We look forward to seeing you in the new year, and have a very good Christmas, but be safe and be sensible. Thank you again for your time.
Good night.